Okay, have you got it, guys?
Yes.
We are. Right. My name is Aneesh deVos, as people know, and I am a trauma specialist for my sins. Trauma is something that I live, sleep, eat, breathe, study, read, and I am a geek and also very boring about it. So when I said, yes, I will do this in a 15-minute slot, when I sat down to write the presentation, I thought, gee, Aneesh, you're having a laugh. I have been studying it for 30 years. It's a massive subject. So let's really get on and get going. So being trauma informed, what does it actually mean? Well, is that going to let me do it? Yeah, first of all, let's consider this. Trauma is perhaps the most avoided, ignored, belittled, denied, misunderstood, and untreated cause of human suffering, according to Peter Levine. Somebody said earlier about, you know, what's missing? What is missing? Why are we not having these conversations? Why are these messages not getting out? I'm going to put forward that the thing that is missing is the stigma of emotional well-being. I get that a lot of people call it mental health, but the stigma that if your emotional well-being is not as it should be, this stigma is still very prevalent. If you have a broken leg, people support more. If you have an issue with your emotional well-being, people are still back into that, you know, past thinking, there's something wrong with them, keep away from them. So the way that we can meet this is just to keep talking about it more. And as you know, I've already been rather opinionated about things. So let's go into what trauma is. Trauma is a normal biological response to an abnormal event. It is not the event itself. It is based in the perception of our life experience, and we react to it from our own experience of attachment. What does that actually mean? So what it actually means is, for instance, there is a car crash, okay? You have 5 people that witness it. 2 people are deeply affected by it, i.e. they are traumatized. Their perception is different to the other 3 people. They come from a different background, they have a different upbringing, so therefore they react differently to it. They're neither right nor wrong, it's just how they're wired neurologically. So if we go into a biological response, and I'm going to do this so simply, okay? We've got an amygdala, okay? Your amygdala is a meerkat. It is permanently on duty, okay? You've then got a hippocampus. The hippocampus is where your memories are. So we've got an elephant for that because an elephant never forgets. So that elephant is constantly reminding the meerkat to be on guard. When these 2 parts of the limbic system, the brain, are on duty, it knocks out what we call our prefrontal cortex. For this bit, we're going to have an owl. So an owl is always breathing and is very, very wise, okay? But that's not going to be online because those 2 systems are really, really busy telling you that you are in a state of threat. That's trauma. It's fight, flight, freeze, and fawn. And it all happens in there. You witness something, you look at your past memories, hippocampus cracking in there, and you respond to it in that way. Your body is like a little chemical box, and all of these messages go do, 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 do. The thing about trauma is that when a person is in a trauma response, they are no longer in a continuum. There will be fragments of memories that are coming up at all different times. It's really easy at this moment in time to say, oh, that's traumatic, that's traumatic, that's traumatic. It's become an overused word. It is now becoming its own movement of an industry. The moment you say to somebody, this is traumatic, that person will respond in the trauma response. Meerkat kicks in because the elephant in the hippocampus is telling them that this is trauma. You've got to respond. Prefrontal cortex, the wisdom of the owl, goes offline. Be really careful of your language. I am very anti the media when it does its okay. It's not on that it keeps doing that, because it keeps telling people that they are in a trauma setting, and so therefore they respond as such. That was a really quick explanation of it. There is a lot more that goes on. So in recognition of what I've just said, the single most important issue for traumatized people is to find a sense of safety in their own bodies. That's according to Bessel van der Kolk. And if you want to read about trauma, then certainly follow Bessel van der Kolk and read his book, The Body Remembers. Okay, so what does it mean to be trauma informed? What does that even mean? It means creating systems and community that is informed. The more we understand about trauma, and believe me, I just gave you a very whistle-stop tour of it, but the more that we understand about trauma means that we then lessen the risk of re-traumatizing a person. How do we do that? Well, one, we educate ourselves and you come to my trainings. Two, you follow a path of compassion to others and to self. Now, we have shown through this COVID situation over the past few months that we've been massively compassionate outside of ourselves. You know, we've set up community groups. I mean, today there has been so much shared about what people have been doing for others. But because of that stigma that I spoke about right at the beginning, because of that stigma, the compassion to ourselves is not high enough. This is something that really needs work. Each and every one of us. I'll put my hand up as well, okay? You'll find invariably people in the helping professions will come from a background where something for them, their needs were not met. So what do? We get up and think, I know, I'm going to go out and I'm going to make that my work so that I can support other people to meet their needs. First of all, meet your own need. When the oxygen comes down in the safety talk on the plane, they don't say, oh, and by the way, you know, give it to your auntie or your old granny or your 5-year-old. They say, take it for yourself. That is compassion. The reason that you take it for yourself is because you need to breathe to be able to support the next person. This is the thing about trauma. This is the thing about emotional well-being. Make sure that you can breathe first, and then you are in the best position for yourself to support somebody else. I have been extremely quick sharing this, and I've come out of stop share. And the reason why I've tried to pack so much into such a short amount of time is because 15 minutes is not long enough, but hopefully it's given you a taster of what I genuinely believe. This is the biggest health concern that this world has ever known. The trauma of eco-trauma, the trauma of health problems, financial, poverty, food scarcity, refugees. This is massive. It's political, it's health conscious, and it's also about us as individuals, about finding our voice. I'm incredibly passionate about this subject. As I said, I study it, I eat it, I breathe it. Any questions?
I've got a question.
Please do.
Well, it's an observation. All the time you're saying that, I was thinking, and this is why I put a fourth bottom line into the structure of the ESTA network. Because that fourth bottom line is acknowledging that our inner lives are just as important as our ability to earn money, the external environment, and our communities. I mean, basically, if we don't change on the inside or build capacity on the inside in this context, how can anything change on the outside? So thanks for that.
Yeah, it really can't, Michael. It's not that I am talking about a selfishness. Remember, compassion is an action. It is based on a feeling of empathy. A fire person, when they run into a burning building and pick up Mrs. Jones, who's going, I can't leave. The fire person doesn't go, oh, there, Mrs. Jones. Fire person whacks him over the shoulder and runs out that building. That is a compassionate act, although it's not about being good and nice and touchy and feely. Compassion is an action, and it's one that we need to do more of, and especially towards ourselves. If you want to know more about compassion, look at Paul Gilbert in the Compassionate Mind Foundation.
I'll also say quickly that ESTA's been going for 10 years, and I genuinely believe that the reason it hasn't fallen over on its face, like so many other social community initiatives, etc., given how loose the framework is in many respects, the reason for that is because to some degree we've all been working with that fourth bottom line. We've all been learning how to listen, and it's the sense of I'd like to describe this network as a process rather than as a thing. So I'd just thank you so much. I'm going to be quiet now for 3 minutes.